o'clock, we'll get this meeting started. We'll stand with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you guys for coming. We've got this public hearing for the proposed GWI lease agreement with, for our town property up here at the sand shed. So, with that, I would just like to open the floor for comments, questions, concerns. All right.
And everybody speaking once.
Yeah, right? No one has any questions or concerns?
How much of this land is being rented?
Yeah, is it gonna be, it's 10 by 20, correct?
24 by 24.
24 by 24.
That's the entire land,
That's not the slab.
Yeah, that's just literally the square that we blocked off, so we have room for our, what is this, 10 by 12, or 12 by 20 slab, which will have the building, a propane tank. It's not the entire size of the building.
Yep.
It's just the landing there for like a generator, propane tank, and the hut.
Yep.
The hut itself is only 10 by 10 by 8 feet high.
Okay. So 24 feet by 24 feet. And the proposed lease is for, currently for $225 a month for 50 years. It's $2,700 a year.
It's not enough.
And in the lease agreement, it is, correct me if I'm wrong, it goes up as internet rates go up, correct? The same percentage?
Yes, cost of living adjustment.
Cost of living? Yeah. So any other questions? You say it's not enough, sir. Marion?
So you also have, within the lease agreement also is an arrangement around property taxes. Once the hut will be built, it will be assessed and
Correct.
property taxes paid.
Right.
That everybody's, I mean, the projection, nobody knows what it could be, but if you look at what the First Light is currently paying, it's around $1,000 to $1,100 annual tax. I think that's right. Something in that range. So that would be on top.
Right. So if you didn't get it, there are copies of the lease agreement on this table here. Sorry, I should have said that at the beginning. The only concern that I have personally is, can we square that proposed site up to the road so that little, there's a corner that's kind of jogged off in that little road that we used to access down back. If that could just be like tweaked a little bit. That shouldn't change anything for the planning board, I can't imagine.
Yeah, would you prefer that it's parallel with the ATV trail or parallel with the access road?
I would prefer parallel with the road.
Okay.
The main.
Yeah, that's no problem at all.
Unless anyone else disagrees, but.
I
Yes,
think my
ma'am.
biggest concern is I think 50 years is a really long time. Way too long.
It is a long time. It has been brought up, so I talked to Thomas about this when I met him at site location, and it was brought up last meeting. This hut, if something, either party needs it to change or needs it to be moved, it is possible to move it if I'm correct, right, Thomas?
Yeah, there's something in the contract basically that if the town decides or if we decide, either side can determine to move the hut, remove the hut, so there's a clause in there for that as well.
But still on town property.
Well, not necessarily.
Unless they decide they've got a better option somewhere else, I would guess, and not to speak for
Right,
it.
it wouldn't necessarily have to be on town property. If a move were ever to occur.
When it comes to internet and communications companies, it's track record that the big guys buy out the little guys. And the biggest reason we're getting the internet here is because of the federal dough that someone's getting. So what happens in the eventuality that a bigger company buys these guys out? where does that leave us with the lease and the deals that are in here?
Well, currently we have, I'll let you guys answer that too better. Currently, we have First Light in town, and GWI would provide competition. One or both could be bought out in the future, that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
that's understood. Yeah,
competition is good, there's no,
correct.
Yeah, that's right. And to elucidate a little bit, so in the event that we were to be bought out, I mean, obviously the lease would be transferable. GWI has been in continuous operation for 30 years. We're actually celebrating our 30th year this year. So we're Maine-based. We've been Maine-based for those 30 years, and we will continue to be so for the foreseeable future, for whatever that's worth, right? I mean, at some point, hopefully well after I'm gone, somebody may choose to purchase it, but the idea would be that as long as it's meeting the needs of both the town and GWI and GWI's successor, the lease would continue.
Is there any restriction on distance from the road itself? I noticed that, I don't know what the distance of that fir point is, how close it is to the edge of the road. Is it adequately back away from the center of the road when we?
The corner that I was concerned with, or?
The corner that, I think you can see out of the woods, I mean, that one seems to be the one that's closest to the road.
When I met with Thomas, you said something about working with DOT and a state road requires a certain setback.
35 feet from the center line, I believe, is their right of way. So as long as we're out of that range,
Then you're good to go?
Yeah, they don't, unless the town has some other statute for it, but I believe it's 35 feet from center line.
Do you have any concerns, Fred?
Did he say how many feet from the center of the road?
35 from
30.
center line is the state's right of way.
Yeah, that's right. Is there a fence still around it?
We talked about a chain link fence being around it.
And they're carrying liability insurance?
I think the only thing I would,
Sure, go ahead, Mary.
I was just looking at, I got a folder that I got from Ed Pinchot when we were working on this, and looking back at the beginning of the process for trying to arrange having high-speed internet here was before 2018. So I don't know how many people have been coming to select board meetings back in 2018, but we had, there was a budget request for 2017, I believe, 2017-18, for $10,000, and that was put in the budget to be used for enabling the process for high-speed internet. And then at another point, we received ARPA money, that $94,000, which ultimately went to into the road budget. That money was initially part of an agreement for high-speed internet. So we, as a town, benefited potentially from that ARPA money, and then it was, we, as a town, decided to use it other than for high-speed internet. But the efforts for high-speed internet has been, we're looking at close to 7 years working on it. And GWI has been on that path with us without hesitation, without saying, the problems we've encountered, we will not walk away from it. They've never walked away from it. They've been more than cooperative and committed, I would say, to what we as a town would need before First Light began its efforts in high-speed internet.
Yeah, I have a question for First Light. I think it was my understanding after the last meeting, not GWI. Sorry about that. Thank you. That regardless of whether the town decides to lease this piece of property that we have to you, this is gonna go forward, right? We're still gonna have the option of a better service, maybe lower rates. That's not gonna take any of that away, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, there is one caveat if I may. Yeah, we'll move forward and be pull-mount unit instead of physical structure. With that, there is one major drawback, and that's power, right? So we can't do battery backup that would be available, in an automated fashion. It require us rolling a tech up to plug it in the event of a power outage, right? So that is not to be taken lightly, right? I mean, power issues are probably the leading cause of most outages. So, you know, we would continue to serve for sure, but potentially not as reliably as we'd like, right? So, you know, we thrive in a really reliable service, and that's what we want to deliver. So that's one of the main reasons why we want a physical structure. And partnering with the town is obviously hopefully a dual benefit, right? I mean, the town can realize another provider for services. You obviously get the initial competition, you know, and you know, nice little side of revenue as well for the lease as well.
Is it gonna have a generator?
There is a generator backup.
In case of power surge, power loss?
If there's a hot, is what you said, if there's a hot.
Right, if there's no hot, then, you know, just be pole mounted and we'll be,
Because in our town, we lost power there for a couple days, and there was a problem. We couldn't run any computers, couldn't do any work at all through the state. There was no power, no internet, no power. So as long as it's got, and now they switched over to they have an on-demand generator to take care of that problem. Hopefully, that's what will be there.
yes? You have a question?
I have a question. Back many meetings ago, there was talk that GWI would have to make an agreement with private landowners to run some additional wires or something like that in order to tie this all together. Has that been done already, or are you waiting for this to be approved or denied before that happens?
Oh, so that's separate than the HUD issue. Basically, there's areas that we identified during our roundouts that basically we thought there were poles there or there was a road there, and there's not. So that's easements that we have to figure out with the property owners. I mean, the biggest one I think is out in West Paris. We were extending out that way. We thought there was an extension there that just runs into the woods. We are currently working on that. We have been unable to contact the property owner thus far, but that's not anything that's going to affect the entirety of the project or this HUD at all.
Gotcha.
It's just little spots that we identify where we have to try to fill those.
Awesome. Thank you.
So majority is Sumner, but we are also hitting part of Hartford, Buckfield, and West Paris.
In order to get you kind of like in the process of the line.
So it's centered in Sumner, and it just kind of branches out to those other areas. So that is what we were awarded through this grant. With everything else that's been built up, this is for building up unserved, underserved areas. So the majority is Sumner, we didn't have fiber, and then those small parts of Hartford, Buckfield, and West Paris. That's where they told us we could build, so that's where it started in Sumner and branched out a little bit to those other towns.
On that note, I was emailing
There.
Darren, thank you, about the road that, the piece of property that is the end of Stetson headed towards the Hartford, town office with the Main Street section.
Right.
And that is not going to be.
Yeah, so he forwarded me that email, the 731 Main Street, I believe it was. Yeah, that Main Street portion of Hartford is not part of the road.
So they currently have broadband right now, is what he had said, and so is that not considered an underserved area, because it's always on kind of complaint, but would that be something that in the future you could see an expansion?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Just not part of this grant
Sure.
that's been awarded.
Is there a deadline on the build out itself from the grant to the, is there an end time? I mean, sometimes there are,
There is, I think there's 2 years from the start of the project, you know, from the time forward. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're still on track, so assuming that we continue building, and we will. We don't anticipate running over that.
Is all this pole work that we see going down, is that you guys?
Yes, sir. When we prepare for construction, we have to do the whole survey right out so they can make space for us. Those were completed back in the winter time.
anyone else have any further questions?
If the town's land is decided to be changed or altered in any way, would the town have any issues getting an easement to put power lines or anything over or near your shack?
So over will definitely be a problem, we're into that already. For one of our huts, we're actually in the process of getting easements and moving the pole for CMP to move the pole, because the line was coming just barely over the corner of the hut. So over the hut is CMP absolutely no go, they won't do it. That might just, involve an additional pole, a point pole where they can kind of direct around. But yeah, definitely over the hut is not allowed by CMP.
Where are the poles on 219 now? Are they on the same side as the poles?
Yep, they're currently on the same side as the hut, and we would go underground to the hut, there would be no additional poles.
It's pretty close to the hut location in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I measured it out, it was roughly 80 feet, give or take.
Do you foresee needing to expand the size of the hut?
No, sir.
No, negative.
Can this build support gig services?
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually multi-gig, so we can support, though we don't have products for it yet, but we're prepped to do 10 by 10, 10 gig by 10 gig.
So one of the gentlemen I met at town meeting, John Daly, just moved here in December and has gig service because he's close to the tower up the top of Upper Sumner Hill. And he is here because there is gig service. He works at home and his business is somewhere way away. And for him to be here, he has to have service that is at gig level. And I think he may be the only one in town who can get gig service and anybody else in town. Because I think it has potential for us, for folks who want to live here, who don't want to leave, but want to have to work from home, or want to be able to communicate with hospital services at a much better rate than what we get at 100 or 250.
All right, any further questions, comments, concerns?
So the property's 24 by 24, and that's it? That's what they have?
Correct.
No more?
Right.
Okay.
All right,
So did anybody see changes so there's the site plan review, that public hearing for the site plan review, have been no suggested changes to the site plan review application that is in the hands of the planning,
other than
other than.
turning the building just a little bit so that doesn't block that road to get out back.
So I don't think there's a notice about having a fence around it, I think, it's like, because there's one in the application, so. That should be in.
Yeah, it's in,
I think it was mentioned as a condition, right?
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
it was written, handwritten in there, right? And they agreed to chain link at the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what we discussed. The height of the chain link wasn't defined, but we did discuss the chain link.
Yeah, we didn't define it like a height rather, I would say at least 6 feet.
I just wanted to make sure there was no preference there, so we didn't do like a 6 foot, and we were like, oh no, we meant 8 foot, like, okay.
I don't know if I have a,
They normally do the things on camp. Is it just a straight chain link, or does it have the wire across the top?
Oh, well, obviously, I would put in just the straight chain line, I would put,
we're not putting Constantine wire up?
I would put barbed wire, Constantine wire around it. That's even easier.
Not expecting that much, with you, right?
I would say 6 or 8 feet, but I don't know if anyone else has any preference. What would you say, Craig? 8?
Say 8 feet?
Yeah, you don't want deer jumping in there.
Good point. So, yeah, 8 feet,
Yeah, sounds good.
right? All right, well, if there's no further comments, questions, or concern, we'll close down the public hearing portion of this and move on to planning board.
Do you have to vote? Is it already voted in?
It's going to town vote.
Oh,
Next
town.
week. Town's gonna,
This is not tonight.
not tonight.
Is that a written vote or a hand vote?
You can ask for it to be written vote.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, next
We'll
week.
like it better.
You have to come next week and do that.
I would love to.
Okay, so next Tuesday, 6 P.M.
I would eat it.
Is there signage requirements? I didn't see anything in here. Like, are you guys gonna put up a sign with your contact number and stuff, since the fence will be there, in case anything gets stuck inside?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Emergency contacts, no trespassing.
It'd be myself, I'm bring directly now.
Here, coming up, okay.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So, I have a question, would there be any concern as far as fires? Does the fire department need to have any information if something should happen?
Just contact info if there was a fire there, or is there any additional information the fire department might require?
And we could have the contact info on the fence, we could leave the contact information at the town office. I mean, you know, we're.
Just put it out?
Yeah, we'll send flyers.
Won't be
if we want.
attached.
Right.
We do have fire warning systems in there, they're all automated and connected to our knock, so I mean, we will know immediately if there's any smoke, so the smoke, there's a heat sensor, humidity, floods, I mean, so we have all those contact sensors.
Is there a disconnect?
Will there be a disconnect to the hut?
A power disconnect, I mean, we typically wouldn't, but we could if that's a requirement of, local.
Okay.
For the safety of our firefighters. That way, if there's a fire, they don't go light up a straight stream and electrocute a fire plant.
They won't touch it unless there is a disconnect, and it's shut off.
All right. I guess we'll move on to, planning board.
Want a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing at 6:22. Second. All in favor?